Well, good afternoon. You're welcome to the Marketplace that looks at the top business issues and how they affect you. In the headlines, the electricity company of Ghana spends 45 million cedi to solve the intermittent power cut in Kumasi. More than 40% of 900 licensed small-scale miners unable to return to mining. We'll find out why. And businesses continue to have profit eroded as Ghana's borders remain closed. This is the Marketplace. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. Now let's settle for the details. The electricity company of Ghana says is investing nearly 45 million Ghana cedis in short to long-term project to address intermittent power outages in the Ashanti region. Managing Director Aboagye-Wiafe says the company is in the process of replacing all its insulators in the region to deal with this problem. Prince Apia has the rest of the story.
For some time now, some parts of Ashanti region have been experiencing intermittent power cuts, for which many residents have not been happy about, because President have announced some 3 months free electricity because of the COVID-19 effect and impact on the people. The Ashanti Strategic Business Unit also identified 14 frequent feeders in 14 areas causing the outages. Director at the unit, Engineer David Buedia-Samoa, reviewed the duration for these trippings ranges from 4 to 37 hours. The outages presentation he made covers 4 weeks from 5th April to 2nd May this year. Managing Director Aboagye-Wiafe addressed the media in Kumasi.
We come to realize that there are some old transformers that need to be changed, cables, relays, reclosures, sectionalizers, and all other things. To mitigate this, we try as much as possible to replace most of them. Especially the jumper card is something that is frequently hurting us. And our field guys normally, just to restore quick service to our customers, they, instead of using connectors, they use winding, the same way to wind it to get light for our customers. Starting last week, we've made it a policy. At no point should a fourth personnel will wind a jumper, but rather you use the actual connector to make sure it sustains the power. We've also come to realize that some of us trying to steal power from us make our transformers overloaded. In our system, we know how many people are on each transformer, but for somebody doing illegal, will be on the blind side of us, so it will overload the transformers, and many times the overload transformer trip the feeder and causing outages.
Meanwhile, the Managing Director Aboagye-Wiafe has been explaining that the ECG is investing some 15 million Ghana cedis in the short term and a little close to 30 million Ghana cedis in the medium term to address some of these challenges and improve connectivity and power supply here in the Ashanti region.
Our area here in the Ashanti region, we are trying to construct a primary substation at the Aboagye area, which will link Konongo, Agogo, and Jiso together, so that we have a stable service. We are spending about 15 million Ghana cedis to reinforce the system or our network. We are also trying to, in the medium term, we try to pump in 29.5 million cedis, and we plan to install, construct at Adanse, Asokwa area, which will link Kumasi, Obuasi, near Dubiase, so that we can have a stable network or service. The amount that I just said, it's not like it's sitting there. It's ongoing. Maybe we might have spent maybe 10 million already or 5 million already. It's ongoing. A minimum a year to complete.
Meanwhile, ECG says it is working to ensure these outages stops and therefore implores the public against power theft. Prince Apia reporting.
Now, Small Scale Mining Association says government's ban on small-scale mining to streamline the sector has been counterproductive. Kofi Urenchi, Vice President of the association, sat with Odile in Timor and asked that close to 40% of illegal small-scale miners will never be able to mine again, while legal ones are back in with impunity. We'll give you an extensive report on Wednesday in this AM News report.
Illegal mining happens both in small-scale mining and large-scale mining. It's not peculiar to small-scale mining, but there are licensed small-scale mining and then licensed large-scale mining as well. So we should be able to differentiate between this. And for me, if we want to prescribe any solution, it is important that we identify and define the problem well so that we can tailor solution to the problem. But if we don't do that and we lump everything together, then in the first place, the solution that we're going to prescribe is going to even be wrong.
My last two questions are on certification for closure and then also on training. From 2013 up to about 2018, the World Bank and some allied partners have spent about $47 million in the sector trying to streamline, trying to train. Do you feel this?
Well, this is my first time of hearing this amount of money, and we've gone through some trainings and all that. So perhaps maybe we might have attended some of the trainings and all that. But the amount, 47 million, did you say they've invested? Well, I'll be very happy if I can have access to that document and study it well so that I can really speak to it well. But what I know is government is taking steps. And when I say government, not this government alone, but previous governments up to this government, they are taking steps to make sure that the sector is well regulated and done responsibly. What I feel they've not done it so well is how they engage stakeholders, especially small-scale miners. For me, I think that going forward, it should be participatory engagement where we'll be seen as partners so that we can contribute meaningfully into the discussion.
And not enemies.
And not enemies, and not the kind of engagement where information is just delivered. Government has done this, so go ahead and do it. Government has done that, so do that. That does not bring development, it doesn't bring buy-in. So it is important that we engage as partners and then together we do it. And I'll give you an example. For instance, this 3% withholding tax that has been passed and then January is seeking to enforce, for instance, it is going to be inimical to the sector. It's not going to help. It's going to reduce production. And like I said, any tax that is targeting revenue is a bad tax in the first place. And so it is important that we review that and then find better solutions of taxing the small-scale miners for the general development of this country.
Now, export numbers have dipped by more than 50% for food processing company that is Blue Skies as COVID-19 causes transport disruptions. Food processing company Blue Skies Ghana have been badly hit by the impact of COVID-19 on international travels, causing export numbers to dip by 50%. Now, this, the company says, is detrimental to its production as 98% of its market is international.
Supply chains for the food and agricultural industry have been heavily impacted by COVID-19 as border restrictions still remain in many countries. This has also led to an increase in demand for essential product groups, including food, as consumers rush to stock up. However, transport delays and cancellations are affecting the ability of companies to export stock effectively. Blue Skies Ghana is one of such companies to be affected as it is unable to meet demand internationally due to inconsistent air travel arrangements. Reginald Ashiti is the head of logistics at Blue Skies Ghana.
We do 40 tons on a daily basis before COVID. As we stand now, we are doing less than 15 tons a day because of COVID. Why this impact? We were depending on dedicated flights to Europe. The British Airways, the KLM, the Emirates, the Brussels Air, and then Ethiopian Airlines. But as it is now, they are not landing at Kotoka anymore. Therefore, we are not able to send our produce to Europe and then the UK. That is how hard we've been hit by COVID.
Aside the dip in exports, the company now has to bear additional costs in transporting their wares.
There are chartered flights and then freighters in the system. We have to quickly rely on freighters. And freighters are not dedicated like the normal carriers. So what happened is that if the consignment has to get to the UK at 10 a.m. or Amsterdam at 6 a.m., we have to route it via Brussels. There, from Brussels, we have to track. Now we fly to Brussels, and then we have to incur another tracking cost from Brussels to, let's say, Amsterdam to the UK and the likes. So we have another tracking cost that we have to contend with. There is handling aspect too. When it gets to Brussels, you need to hire a handling agent or firm to really take care of your produce when it gets to Brussels. And these are costs that are unplanned.
Reginald Ashite also assured that the company is doing its best to cut cost of production so as to secure the jobs of its staff. For Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Now, stabilizing the entire banking system and the Ghana cedi is expected to dominate discussions as the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, they've actually started meeting since this morning. The committee, which is chaired by Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, will also review the health of the economy over the past 2 months. But why should you be interested in this meeting? Well, earlier on, I put together this report. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana is meeting at a time that the regulator itself has projected that the banking sector could be affected badly going forward in terms of loan repayment, credit extension, and profit dipping. That is why this meeting is very important in terms of instituting additional measures to deal with the expected shocks because of the coronavirus. The Ghana cedi had in recent times come under some sort of pressure. This was due to some actions by some offshore investors to exit Ghana's bonds, resulting in analysts pushing for additional monetary measures to contain the situation. Another development that a lot of analysts are worried about is the expected impact of this coronavirus on the fiscal, in terms of revenue mobilized and government expenditure, and what should be the policy response to contain the situation. In all, the committee will be looking at the impact of all these things on inflation rate, by ensuring that the amount of money in circulation matches productivity, and the policy rate, which is pegged at 14.5%, which was reviewed downwards at their last meeting in March, the biggest since November 2018. While another cut would definitely impact on that loan that you are servicing, or if you intend to take one. Others have also argued that maybe it might be good to ensure that businesses actually start benefiting from these recent cuts before the Bank of Ghana goes forward to announce another cut in this policy rate. While the National Board for Small-Scale Industry has begun stress testing of its systems to make sure that the modalities and the disbursement of the 600 million Ghana cedi for small-scale businesses is done well, well, several sectors have waded into discussions asking for their members to be given the priority. The latest is the Savings and Loans Association. With me in the studio is Aboagye-Wiafe. And so let me get the understanding. Do you want it to be directed at your members, or you want it to be channeled through association, or what do you exactly want?
Thank you very much, George. This is the association made up of savings and loans companies. So we want it to be channeled through the savings and loans companies. And we must commend the government for taking the decision to support businesses in general. And the savings and loans companies, we have already been supporting this agenda. Just last week, we supported one facility, health facility, taking care of the COVID-19 patients. We are also continuously supporting our individual clients, those who are hard hit. They approach their respective institutions, and the institutions also tweak their contract and all those things. We believe that if the government, who has supported the banking sector all this while, from last year and to now, we have the offices around the country.
we have the processes, the structures, the appraisal, the recovery of the loan itself. Some clients are over-indebted, which we have the database. We can even check to know that somebody is over-indebted. Again, we want to use this opportunity. If they use the savings and loans companies or rural banks or finance houses or microfinance companies, we believe that you are also supporting the regularization of all these small businesses, roping them into the banking sector. Again, we have the systems, the structures to ensure that if somebody is going wayward, you're able to bring the person back online. You are aware that if they bring the money, or the NBSSI as the parent body, using the savings and loans companies to do the appraisal and disbursement, one thing that will happen also is that it will also improve liquidity position of these savings.
But some will say that we have the mainstream commercial banks. Maybe let's use them.
The bottom line is that we believe that the small-scale entities, those small, the petty traders that we want to support,
entrepreneurs,
we have the majority of them. We have the skill. If you come to Ghana and you want to support SME development,
you think
and
the sector is right place to do
savings
that?
and loans companies, then you are not actually doing what you want to do.
Let's come back to how the sector is faring in the wake of this coronavirus in terms of withdrawals and deposits. What is the situation now in terms of your liquidity position? Are people, because of COVID-19, withdrawing more? And also the bit about you pushing for some stimulus package. Let's first start with your situation right now in terms of liquidity position and what has been the response from customers. Are they just withdrawing everything? Because that's what we hear.
George, there's an increase in withdrawal, which is expected because the customer is not generating more revenue. And so the small they have with their respective financial institutions, they can withdraw. So we expect.
So you've been hit by some massive withdrawals?
Yes, exactly. Withdrawal is on the ascendancy. But look at the flip side. The flip side is that you give me your money, I on-lend. Now, that money that I've on-lent to somebody, that person is unable to pay the loan. And so I am not getting inflow so that when you come, I pay it to you. Again, I am paying interest expense on the deposit that I've mobilized. But the loans are not being paid. We are giving some clients 1 month moratorium, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. And so the reality is that you will need to get an external support. One from the shareholders, which these shareholders, their respective businesses too are hard hit. The next one is government. There is no economy that can survive if government doesn't come in.
So do I get from you that it has affected credit extension, right?
Some of the institutions are continuously giving credit, but the magnitude and the rate at which
declined. Have you turned to government, or have you turned to the Bank of Ghana for some support to help address this problem?
Yes, we have.
And what is the state of that one?
Fortunately, the central bank, who we have been engaging, they've been very supportive, wrote back to us that they've received our concerns and they are giving the necessary attention to it. And we are very confident the central bank will come back to us so soon. But fortunately, it is the government that will issue the money. And so we are expecting that even this afternoon, under our umbrella body, you are aware we have GAMFIN.
Yeah.
GAMFIN, that is all the non-bank financial institutions in Ghana, is in talk with the NBSSI. And so we believe that if they're able to have some kind of discussions with that, we believe that businesses will benefit, the banking sector will continue to grow stronger and stronger, and the customers themselves will continue to
I am particularly worried about your liquidity position and how soon should this stimulus package come in, because these are times when a lot of small businesses are struggling. They need liquidity support to help their businesses in this wake of the coronavirus. How soon should this package come in to help you out?
for some of the institutions, it should be as soon as yesterday.
And you get the signs that it will be done, because it looks like we've not heard about anything government putting together something for you guys.
We can't speak for the government. We believe the government is thinking about how to position the sector. No government will throw billions of cedis into the banking space and leave it to collapse. And so we are very confident the government has all good intentions. And even today, we have done some donation to the COVID fund, and we want to say that this is purposely to support the agenda of the government and the nation as a whole.
Chinebo Aboagye-Wiafe is with the Association of Savings and Loans Company, hearing some thoughts from him. Well, we draw the curtain down for Marketplace. Have a good afternoon.